Imagine that. I never thought about magnetic inductance over a stick antenna. That thing is cranking now. If I could just... Well, right now I'm making an air tune or a variable capacitor, but that right there is running off radio waves. Imagine that. I had the coil sitting beside the stick antenna. Well, I'm not getting any. I'm not trapping the electromagnetic radio waves. And I don't know what made me think of it, but well, this is a coil slash capacitor. I mean, if I had fewer turns on the bottom coil, it would have been I could have turned it into a Tesla coil, basically. But right now, it's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to trap, the already available radio waves within the air here. And, wow, I'll be surprised. I mean, I have 100 feet on the square, I have 100 feet of coil wire on that. And because I'm sub-level, or not quite above ground, I'm not getting much radio waves, but boy, did this, putting this coil over the top, almost act like a coil around the CB antenna. I had probably just about 2 feet of pipe here, and if we cut it into thirds, of course the bottom coil with the thicker gauge wire is more winds, more wire actually, because it's multiple strand wire. And then it goes up to, I don't know how many lines I got on the something like 23 gauge magnetic wire, and then I got the variable capacitor right above it. Now the reason why you see the blue behind it is because of, well, it's a fucking amp. I mean, because right now I'd have to rely on well, I'm going to build an amp. I'm going to build an independent amp that'll run off probably 5 volts, because I have an extra battery for a, what is it? It's a Samsung Galaxy 6 that I got sent in the mail for no reason. So if I could make an amp that will run off 5 volts, which actually this thing does run off 5 volts, but I want to take that out of the line because I don't want anyone to think that it's... See, even my presence brings up the radio, but watch. This is the radio. That is just an amp. And I did not use a 47K resistor between the earphone contacts because of the low impedance. You have to add some resistance. So basically keeping your direction of your signal going the same direction. But the coil above the antenna, I never even thought about it. This was just a shot in the dark, and seems to be working just fine. Now, the only problem I have is that the local radio station, this 1490 or whatever the hell it is so strong that I can't get anything else, which I'm working on an air capacitor right now, which I'll hook on the end of the antenna in order to kind of tune that out a little bit so I can fine-tune that. I'm going to keep the variable capacitor I have up here with the soda bottle tuner cap on it. But all this stuff is junk, man. This is stuff somebody threw a TV over a bank, and I said I might be able to do something with that. Now, if I can store this energy, because actually, in order to get the amp working, I had to add, I have a 47 volt, I forget what the ohms is on the capacitor. I had to put in line, because otherwise the amp would draw so much that the radio wouldn't put out a signal to the amp. In other words, it would draw so much from the radio that the radio become non-functionable. Anyways, now if I take a series of capacitors, I wouldn't see why anybody wouldn't be able to generate electricity with the radio waves that we have going on around us. See it? The waving is because of the size of the inline capacitor I have between that and the amp. In other words, this thing gets really loud and then it'll wave down a little bit. Now I could increase the size of the capacitor, but I don't want to increase the size of the capacitor again where it gets so much resistance that it's not going to make the radio functionable. In other words, just like hardwiring the amp in, where it was taking so much draw. A larger capacitor might do the same. I have no way of seeing what my impedance is. However, I got a bucket full of capacitors. I could just try them out. But right now I'm going to leave well enough alone while I build my air capacitor for the antenna end, so I can isolate out these particular radio waves, because boy, this is one strong radio signal right here.